Just a fair warning, this video will be based on facts but still theoretical and is going to delve into some sexual themes and possibly some lewd jokes, so view at your own discretion. All we have to go on with Maria, Gehrman, and the doll are brief snippets and item descriptions and inference, but I'm pretty sure I know what I'm talking about and I think I'm right. Gehrman was the very first hunter and has been in the hunter's dream serving as an advisor for a very long time.
He was a hunter long ago, but now serves only to advise them. He is obscure, unseen in the dreaming world. Still, he stays here, in this dream. Such is his purpose.
This was possibly by choice, considering he lost his leg likely during a hunt, replacing it with a prosthetic leg, or a peg leg, and became bound to a wheelchair. And we find out he can stand and move around perfectly fine when he absolutely has to with power imbued from the moon presence. It's safe to say the first hunts began roughly 7 or 8 decades ago, give or take, and that the hunter's dream, or any nightmare or dream world for that matter, doesn't prevent aging as seen in Gehrman. But it is possible that the moon presence is prolonging his life, and his dialogue as you progress makes it more clear he wants out of the dream.
Oh, Lawrence, what's taking you so long? I've grown too old for this. Of little use now. Afraid.
It seems as though as he's talking in his sleep.
Oh, Lawrence, Master Willem, somebody help me. Unshackle me, please. Anybody. I've had enough of this dream. The night blocks all sight. Oh, somebody, please.
Though when you defeat the damn bastard child of cause... Hold up! What is this? Do you think this has some significant meaning? The doll does make mention that he's sleeping much better now, probably because we slayed the person that's plagiarizing his cries. But it does prove the doll legitimately cares about Gehrman. Most people take it as he created and brought the doll to life to give him companionship and to stifle his loneliness. But I feel it goes much deeper than that, if you know what I mean. Heading to the old abandoned workshop, we can safely assume this was Gehrman's residence and workplace before being bound to the dream, as he forged some of the first transforming weapons. The dream is Gehrman's and was fashioned exactly from this real location, a location he was quite familiar with. In a chest just outside the workshop, you find the doll's clothes, and the description says, "A deep love for the doll can be surmised by the fine craftsmanship of this article and the care with which it was kept. It borderlines on mania and exudes a slight warmth." Inside the workshop, you'll find the doll he created, inanimate and lifeless. But if you look long enough, her finger twitches, showing that his will for her to be real gave it a certain energy. Now, let's focus on the deep love Gehrman holds for the doll. On Maria's attire and the doll's attire, it mentions Gehrman's mania. Synonyms for mania include fascination, obsession, passion, and most importantly in Gehrman's case, fetish. The doll's attire borderlines on mania. Is it hard to believe he created the doll because he had a fetish for dolls? If you look closely at the books Gehrman has in the workshop, you'll see many books, some in Latin, some on alchemy, but most importantly many titled How to Pick Up Fair Maidens, giving us a little more insight into his character and that possibly he was awkward around real women, especially when Maria showed interest in him. Maria was one of the first students of Gehrman, and he was likely much younger then. Maria's attire says she had great admiration for Gehrman, unaware of his curious mania. I think this means Maria actually loved Gehrman, otherwise why would they bring up the fact that she was unaware of his curious mania? This also shows his doll fetish spanned way before the hunter's dream, and by the umbilical cord description, before the moon presence was beckoned and before the hunters were necessary. It's safe to say he always had this fetish. But have you noticed the doll looks surprisingly similar to Maria? When you first encounter Maria, she is bleeding, having tried to kill herself, but the problem is she is distantly related to Annalise, the Vile Blood Queen, meaning she may have the tainted vampiric blood that makes her maybe not mortal like the Queen, because you can still kill her, but close to it. A good indicator of that is she hasn't aged despite being one of the first hunters from several decades ago. And as I said, I don't think aging halts when in a nightmare or dream. When you take a closer look at her, you see she has light blonde hair similar to the doll's, and that her features all look very much like the doll's besides the eyes. The doll's eyes are much larger and rounder, because she's a doll. Examine Maria's attire, and you can also see some stunning similarities to the doll's attire. It's like one's a hunter's variation, and the other's a cutesy variation. I think this was all very much on purpose. Some say Maria tried killing herself because of what took place in the research halls and her guilt for what went down in Fishing Hamlet. While this could play some part in her decision to take her own life, I think it's for another reason. If you look down at her side table, you can see a chalice and a smashed picture. It's hard to make out who is in the picture, but I'll go off on a limb here and say it was Gehrman, and that she never got over him and his rejections to her advances. She seems bitter, mostly due to you trying to uncover secrets she wants to remain hidden, but something tells me she's been bitter for a while, having never fully gotten over her feelings for Gehrman. Likewise, Gehrman never got over Maria and his obsession for dolls. When he and Maria went separate ways, he made a doll at his height with innocent attire, modeled after the one girl he had a chance with but couldn't get due to his anxiety around her. The doll was created out of the powerful emotions he felt for Maria. As such, the doll has an emotional connection to Maria. Could it be the small hair ornament you give the doll was Maria's? Something Gehrman couldn't fathom letting go of? Or perhaps it was a gift he couldn't bring himself to give her. The description does say, its color would stand out most brilliantly against a head of grayish hair. While this could refer to the doll, now with the DLC it could definitely refer to Maria. When you give the doll the hair ornament, she says,
What? What is this? I can't remember. Not a thing, only I feel a yearning, something I never felt before. What's happening to me? Tell me, Hunter, could this be joy?
Perhaps all along, she was feeling the faint emotions Maria would feel. She even gives you a tear stone which says, a doll neither sheds blood nor tears, and thus its nature remains unknown. Whoever thinks this is precious must be troubled by severe naivety. But if a doll doesn't shed tears, wouldn't this item be precious in some way? Now, this may sound off the wall, but do you think the tear stone could have manifested itself through Maria's emotions bottled up inside the doll? Even more evident is what the doll says when you kill Maria.
This may sound strange, but have I somehow changed? Moments ago, from some place, perhaps deep within, I sensed a liberation from heavy shackles. Not that I would know. How passing strange.
It's almost as if she is speaking for Maria, and that, now in death, Maria is no longer shackled by the feelings she had for Gehrman and couldn't let go of. With all that in mind, doesn't the doll's confusing dialogue make so much more sense? In a way, this can be seen as love that never reached fruition, and Gehrman's obsession and social anxiety is what held him back. Maria was completely unaware of his feelings and fetish, leading her to hold a resentment towards him, and that perhaps drove her into a bitter and suicidal depression. He may be her first or true love. Then again, we don't know anything about their relationship. In fact, it's all theoretical. Okay, enough with the sappy stuff. Let's talk about the fun stuff. The one question that you're probably dying to know the answer to is, did Gehrman screw the doll? Yes, he did. And likely many, many times. Wouldn't you if you were a dude trapped in basically a prison with nothing else around but a walking, talking, living doll? Maybe not if it was Chucky. Now that's just scary. Or Pinocchio. Or at least that's not my preference. Actually, no, we're not going there. There's more than enough evidence to corroborate that Gehrman screws the doll. He's sexually obsessed with dolls, has trouble with women, makes a blatant sexual remark about the doll in the tone of his voice.
Even the doll, should it please you.
She spills white blood when attacked, which is obviously symbolizing semen. And the doll even says,
Hunters have told me about the church, about the gods and their love. But do the gods love their creations? I am a doll created by you humans. Would you ever think to love me? Of course. I do love you. Isn't that how you've made me?
She was created to love her creator. Who created her? Gehrman. And one really obvious clue is in the old abandoned workshop, but in the middle of the area, you can hear sexual moaning. We can assume this is the doll. This was added for a reason, and that reason is to allude to what Gehrman did with his doll there. And no, it's not coming from the Yarnum streets below. I checked. You guys having sex in there? Are ya? You having sex?
A night of curses. A night to remember. Wouldn't you say, friend?
Okay, that doesn't really answer my question, but... And double checked. Okay, I'm just back to make sure you still aren't having sex. Are you still not having sex in there? What has my life become? What am I, the sex police? One last thing we know about Maria is what she did with her original Rakuyo from its item description, tossing it into a well when she could stomach its presence no longer. She was fond of it because it demanded great dexterity and frowned upon blood blades. So why in the name of someone holy would she suddenly decide to use a blood and fire buff blade in the battle against you? Maybe she changed her mind about blood blades. Why couldn't she stomach her original blade's presence no longer? So much so, she dropped it down a well. Perhaps she did it out of disgust for what she did with it, along with the other first hunters who may have slayed Kaz in Fishing Hamlet some time ago. I did go more in depth on this in my last video. But of course, everything I just discussed is just a theory. But I feel it's a very good one based on facts, observations, and inference. I feel there's a reason for everything in Bloodborne, so you really have to take every little memo or detail and coherently let your mind run wild. Speaking of my mind running wild, you think being as old as Gehrman is, he still screws his doll? I mean, he willfully lets you use his doll, so you think he can't get it up anymore? It's not like there was Viagra in Yarnum, but maybe there was like blood treatment for that, because Adela's blood gives me a raging hard-on. Oh man, I'll save a vial of that for later. Whew, and with Ariana's blood, I can go all night. Probably a good thing I can't take both. I don't know what I might do. Oh, and Adeline's blood? Please subscribe if you have a curious mania for entertaining content, or become a patron if you have a curious mania for supporting starving YouTubers. I'd like to thank my current supporters for making this and future videos possible. And if your curious mania is leading you to want to watch more of my content instead of kinky porn, then please watch another Bloodborne lore. Also, thanks so much for the 40,000 plus subs. It means so much to me.